Did you watch our previous episode on how we made our yummy chocolate ganache? If yes, of course, you did learn how to make our yummy chocolate ganache. In this video, we are just going to cover our cake in chocolate ganache. So stay tuned as I bring you something special. As usual, you know I normally love using different flavors for our wedding cake, and this is no exception. We had four yummy flavors, of course, four yummy flavors: fruit cake, a bit of red velvet, that's a thin layer of red velvet, and our strawberry cake. I mostly dowel my cakes before ganaching them, then do my final doweling before adding my tears to them. So with this, I just started crumb coating my whole cake with my chocolate ganache. Crumb coating of your cake is very important. So we first of all coat our cake layers with a thin layer of chocolate ganache before doing a thick layer to cover up the whole cake, preventing those crumbs from coming into our thick layers. So we first of all do a thin coating all around our cake layers before doing our thick coating. So we are just doing a short and a small simple crumb coating of our four yummy flavors of course, before we go ahead and finish up with our thick chocolate ganache coating to finish up the whole cake design. Once we are done, we are just going to pass our smoother all around our cake, making sure we take off any excess chocolate ganache that's not needed. After your very first scrape, you wipe and clean your scraper or your smoother and do your final sharp edges. Once you are done, you can refrigerate. White chocolate ganache, dark chocolate ganache, you can refrigerate them. You bring them out to do your final finishing. You cover in fondant and leave to rest till you are ready to stack them. So I'm just going to fill up the base a bit because I was seeing my red velvet cake layers there, and I'm doing my final scraping again. Then I'm good to go. So this just came out of the fridge, and I'm now going to do my final covering, which is my thick layer. I'm just going to add a thick layer of our chocolate ganache, white chocolate ganache frosting to it, and I'm going to do my final smoothing. I do my sharp edges, cover in fondant, and we do our final assembling of our wedding cake. So this cake was used for our all white wedding cake. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can get to see more and more of this content. We're just going to pass our whole chocolate ganache all around our cake. Make sure our cake is being crumb coated with thick layer of chocolate. This one around, no crumbs is visible because we've already pre-crumb coated our cake layers before adding our final coating to it. Once we are done, we go in for our scraper. We scrape the cake gently, then we fill in all the parts which needs to be filled in with our white chocolate ganache. When we are done, we can just work on our sharp edges. I normally love to use a sharp object. It can be a sharp scraper, a sharp knife, or a sharp cutter to cut off any chocolate, any excess chocolate you see. You can just cut them off. So we're going to proceed to filling in. Then our handy hair blower or hand blower comes in, because you're just going to blow the whole cake with the heat option to enable us smoothing the cake completely. One advantage of chocolate ganache is once you have a cool environment, it's set as you work with. Once your environment is cool, it's not hot. Once you start working with white chocolate ganache, it's set alongside as you decorate your cake. So you need your hair blower or hand blower to soften it up a bit, to loosen it up a bit, so you can scrape and get your smooth surface, your smooth white chocolate ganache. If you are working in a hot environment, please make sure you open up your windows. You allow enough air pass through your kitchen or wherever you are working, your workspace, wherever you are working from. You make sure there's enough fresh air coming through if you are not working in an air condition or you're not working in a cold space. So we had two wedding cakes that weekend. One, we created a content on how we did our normal or beautiful harvest stencil, which we had them already stacked waiting for the last layer. I wanted to create the content, so I had to just stay behind and wait for that one. So here is what I was talking about. That's how I cut my sharp edges. I took my sharp scraper, I just cut off any excess that was hanging, and my chocolate was ready. So here is another video. This for the white cake. That's why I decided to do a thick layer. The other one was supposed to be covered in wood, so it was a bit less stressful. We didn't really coat it with that thick chocolate ganache. With this, after we were done cutting, I tried to smoothen it up a bit, but I ended up messing up the chocolate, and I added a bit of water. So one advantage of chocolate ganache is it works well with water. Once you start working with water, it changes the texture, then it goes back to smoothing it for you. So the advantage is you get to work with chocolate ganache and you can apply a bit of water to help you get that silky smooth surface or silky smooth texture. So we were busy rolling our fondant behind we were supposed to use to cover our whole cake. So I worked on the edges, I worked on the side. When I was done, I gently scraped towards the center till I got my perfect and neat sharp edges. Then we were ready to cover in fondant. After we are done, we are just going to gently cover our whole cake with fondant, open up a bit and use our smoother to just smoothen and make sure we cut off the excess fondant. So we pass the smoother around the whole cake and make sure it's sticking to our ganache. Then we cut off the excess with our fondant smoother. Yes, that's how I cut off my excess. I just do that. I press the fondant smoother together so I make sure the excess fondant is coming off easily by its own self. So I just press them together gently, moving to the top and coming down. Then when I'm done, I just use a cutter to cut the excess I got from the end. Then I smoothen it out with my fondant smoother. When I'm done, I cut off the excess from the top, open up and add the very top layer to it. Then I flip it and make my sharp edges. Working with white chocolate ganache is so easy. You don't end up seeing your cake layers in your fondant covering. You don't see your cake layers in your fondant covering. Your final fondant covering, you don't end up seeing your cake layers. Crumb coating, sometimes when not crumb coated well, you can end up seeing the number of layers you used for that particular cake. But with chocolate ganache, it secures your cake layers together. It forms a thick coat around your cake and it makes sure your cake stands out, and you have to make sure you are doing it right. You just don't do anything, because once you treat your cake anyhow, you end up with a bad result. So you make sure your crumb coating is on point. So here we flipped our cake and I'm going to gently press the fondant to touch my board so that I make sure I have a finish and clean edge. In doing so, I gently press them. I'm not doing a hard press. It's a simple and easy press because my ganache is on point and it's firm. So I just cut off the excess with my shovel. When I'm done, I flip the cake back on. We have our beautiful fondant cake covered in ganache before we did our final fondant covering. Why won't you go in for the simple chocolate ganache recipe and make your fondant covering so unique and beautiful? Thanks so much. I'm Michael of M.O.D's Catering Services. If you've not watched our previous episode, please do so. Bye.